Joe talks about Joe. And now, your host, Joe Slepsky.
Hey, welcome back to Joe on Joe. I'm your host, Joe Slepsky. And this week we are in for a delightful treat. There's a couple things that are going on today. First of all, the episode is Cobrathon, and it is fantastic. It is so much fun. It's awesome. And joining me today is the second treat you're going to get. It's Jeremiah Stafford, who is a writer, director, filmmaker out here in Los Angeles. And we are sitting in, I can't call it a bat cave. It is a...
it's very cave-esque.
It's very cave-esque, but it is a tribute to every single thing that this podcast stands for. This podcast's calling card is all about the 1980s and all about fun and kids and toys and all the things that we love. G.I. Joe, He-Man, actually, I didn't see a lot of Transformers in here.
There's a little bit in the Joe room, actually.
There's Transformers,
like, yeah.
Star Wars. At wall to wall, we are in Jeremiah Stafford's awesome cave, dubbed the Awesome Cave. Jeremiah, welcome to Joe on Joe.
Glad to be here.
I cannot undersell it. We are surrounded by. Describe our situation right now.
It's a lot of stuff that I've collected over the years. Tons and tons and tons of toys. As you said, a lot of G.I. Joes, a lot of Masters Universe, a lot of Star Wars, Marvel, DC, the whole enchilada. Tons of comics. Everything immaculately presented. There's artwork. There's original artwork. There's vintage artwork. I'm staring at the cover of a Hordak from the Masters of the Universe magazine. Right next to me, I've got a wall of the G.I. Joe 25th anniversary figures, all adorned in their mint in box and in plastic cases hanging from the walls. There's Sky Strikers on the ceiling. There's Rattlers on the ceiling. There's X-Wings on the ceiling. I'm looking at Twilight Zone figures. I'm looking at Back to the Future figures. I'm looking at Better Call Saul, Breaking Bad figures, Raiders of the Lost Ark vintage, Rocky Balboa. Everything. It's all over the place.
It's all over the place. We are not divulging where we are at because there are swarms of fans.
I do lock the doors, and it all is under security cameras. So
that's a really good idea because this place is fantastic. It's very reminiscent of the pictures I've seen. I think it's Steve Sansweet's collector's place for Star Wars up in the ranch.
Yes.
Which
he has a much bigger space to.
Well, sure.
He's not in Los Angeles like we are.
Right.
So.
But it is ridiculously impressive, ladies and gentlemen, and I cannot sell it. I can't oversell it because I can only undersell how impressive this is. So thank you, Jeremiah, for welcoming me into this. Well,
anytime. Glad you're here.
So how long have you been collecting like this? Like tell me your collector G.I. Joe story.
Well, I mean, I always loved the toys. I mean, even as a kid, I think I really got into them in about '84. Really, when that second miniseries hit, that was when I really fell in love with it. I picked up a couple figures in '82, but just at that point, I was more He-Man. I was more Star Wars. But when '84 hit, G.I. Joe was huge.
Yeah.
And at that point on, it was like G.I. Joe and superheroes were my two big jams, big time. So,
and when you were a kid collecting them, did you meticulously take care of them, or did you just, you know what I mean? Were you that kid? I was that kid. I if a thumb broke, it tormented me until I could get a new version of them with a clean thumb, things like that.
Oh, thumbs for sure. I luckily never broke thumbs ever.
Yeah.
The crotch pieces, that was the part that would break on me. And I could kind of let that go a little bit because at the time it wasn't quite as aesthetically. Like if the thumb's missing, there's clearly something wrong with this guy. But the crotch is...
One time I lost one figure, and it was a breaker.
Oh, no.
And I mean, the fact that I remember that now, I'm 42 years old.
Right.
And it tormented me. And I was like, I don't know where Breaker went. And I scoured the backyard. I scoured the front yard and never found him. And I had to get a new one eventually, which I did. But that's who I was. Like I knew everything I had. I knew what we were going out to play with. I knew all the guns. All the guns had to come back. Everything had to be put back together before it got put away. Similar?
Big time. Yeah, I was always keeping track of stuff. Always took good care of my toys. You know, I mean, we had good Christmases and stuff like that. Like we got a good number of toys at Christmas, but we didn't have a lot of money.
You grew up in
Kansas City area, in Missouri.
Nice. I was Kansas City, Missouri. Are they are they next to each other, or what's the deal?
One,
I
it
need answers.
basically is overgrown. So really, Kansas City, when you say Kansas City,
Yeah.
and you think of the Chiefs and the Royals and
Sure.
all those things,
Yeah.
that's on the Missouri side.
Yes. Kansas City Chiefs play in Missouri?
Kansas City Chiefs play in Missouri. It's a Missouri team.
I did not know that.
So the city is in Missouri, and it's Kansas City because it was the gateway to Kansas, which was just a territory.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know that at all.
So it was like your last stop in the state of Missouri when there was no state of Kansas.
Yeah.
To cross the border.
Oh, it's exciting.
Yeah.
Listen, I know about pop culture and crap. I don't know. I don't know about maps.
The geography is a little different. Well, we'll consider that on the next mission that you go on.
We need
for the Joe team.
Yeah, we need Scoop.
Yes.
To make me a briefing. You had said that you got out of it for a little bit and then you picked it back up at some point, right?
Yeah, right around the age when most people get out of it, in their high school years. I was not ready to let it go, but sort of had to, in part because my dad was a factory worker and he got hurt on the job. So we sort of had to slow down our spending of anything. And a lot of my, college funds and stuff like that actually went towards rent at that point.
Right.
So, yeah, it was a number of years where at that point on, I basically had to give up the toys. Which was the natural state based on age, but like not something I chose.
Not something
to do.
you wanted to do. Yeah.
But I always did it with the idea in mind that one of these days
you're going to circle.
I'm going to come back and get all these things that I missed.
So you came out here to go to USC Film School.
That's correct.
Is that correct?
Yep.
And you currently are working in the you're working in the industry, working a lot.
Yeah, I lucked out. I got a full ride to go to USC, which otherwise
Great.
You could never afford because it's like $50,000 a year.
How did you qualify for that? Like what? Like
just academics.
Academics.
Put a
reel together. Or
I'm really
something?
good at fooling test takers. They become smart at things. So
that's awesome. So you came out to USC. You study, and so you've been working in the film industry now for 15 years or so.
I actually started. So when we were still in school, I had two partners that I worked with, and we developed a TV series that we sold to Sony while I was still at USC.
Wow!
But it was a good break for me, and
that's amazing.
And it was on the air, and it went out. And interesting enough for the Joe fans, actually, I worked with a number of people on that show that were young. Basically, I drew in friends of mine from college to work on the series, and one of them was John Chu, who directed
G.I. Joe 2?
G.I. Joe Retaliation.
Yeah, that's great.
So I've actually known Chu since we were 18, 19 years old.
That's awesome.
Both went to USC together.
I've got so many questions about that movie because, and I don't know, maybe you can actually help answer them. It's exciting. It's the better of the two movies.
Yes.
But if you really critically look at it, you could see that there's so many pieces. So he was able to stitch to what I would call stitch together a fun narrative. But like, there's pieces where you see characters in locations and with other people where it doesn't make sense, but you don't care because it's exciting. And he put together these great set pieces, you know what I mean? And he found a way to like get some narration to kind of smooth over some of the storytelling points. Like it's a really good job of making something that's really enjoyable out of what seems to be maybe it may have been a troubled production.
So I can't specifically speak to his experience,
sure.
Although I've heard him say a little bit. But
and I'm not looking for you to trash talk.
No, not
at all.
No. I think just from my experience in the industry, I can tell you how some of these things go.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of cooks in these kitchens. There's a lot of, especially it was a big film, big leap for him in his career. He's a super talented guy. But that was a big leap for him. So I don't know specifically what obstacles he hit on that specific production, but it got delayed in its release by almost a year.
Yeah, and wasn't like Bruce Willis a late addition to it or something?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah.
I believe that's correct.
Yeah, and like you can there's when so you have Storm Shadow joining the Joes, but then in the next scene he's still with Cobras and things like that. And you could just see the seams.
There's some things in editing.
Yeah, you could see the seams in it. But and I even say this out loud on the podcast, not to insult. It's so much fun.
Oh
He put together really great set pieces. My wife it was on TV recently, and it was coming up to the ninja swinging scene on the mountains. And I
Right.
just said to her, I go, I know you don't want to watch this, but just
But you have to
do
check
me a
out the
favor. I
scene.
go, give me 15
Yeah.
minutes. Watch this.
Yeah.
And she loved it. She was
Yeah.
like, you're right. That's amazing work. Like
That's a really great set piece.
it's a great set piece. Yeah. And so like all those little things come into play, and then it keeps you interested, keeps you into it. And it's only, I'm like, when you get really break down like a super nerd, you're like, oh wait, why is that? Okay, well, whatever, I don't care. It's fun.
A lot of the things that movies in that range, in terms of budget, suffer from is runtime.
Oh, really?
They try to squeeze a lot in, but then they have to keep runtimes down to certain amounts so that they can get more screenings in a day and thus sell the tickets that they
Right.
need. So like, there's metrics about runtime that have nothing to do with the quality of what that edit's going to end up doing to the film.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think, you can definitely say that there's things that he would probably redo. There's things that you and I would do differently. But that's just the nature of the industry. to
Yeah,
some degree.
yeah. But I mean, honestly, the end result is a whole lot of fun.
Yeah.
A whole lot of fun.
No, absolutely.
And it took a lot of cues from kind of the direction. I don't know if I should. I'm not sure as we're speaking which came first. The way the cartoon was, where they were renegades and they were on the run.
Cartoon came first.
Yeah, so it took a lot of
Yeah.
cues from that
Yes.
then. And
I think that was pure coincidence.
really,
Yeah, those two were sort of developed separately
Okay.
in the development process.
well, it works.
Yeah.
It works. Like it really is genuinely a real fun movie to watch.
Yeah.
So when you talk to him, tell him thank you for taking that
I
and making seriously, taking what seems to be maybe a troubled thing and just making a real fun movie to watch.
I shall when I see him. I don't know if I'll see him anytime soon. We don't get together that much. He's actually making a film over at Warner Brothers with some other friends of mine. So.
Oh, cool. Now, what are you working on? You said you were working on the Dr. Ken show, and
I did a little work for them. I've done a few pilots that I have been trying to sell recently. Doing a lot of story development work. I've recently been doing some work for a little bit for Marvel Studios and Lucasfilm and Warner
Exciting.
Brothers and Sony, and I'm all over town.
that's great.
Basically,
That's
so,
great. That's great. So
You
just a lot of networking and a lot of.
A lot of networking, a lot of meetings, a lot of story consulting work. Occasionally, some directing opportunities hit my way.
So in film school, did you major in a specific what discipline of film? Was it writing or was it like directing or
No.
what was
So
it?
the writing side was very, in my opinion, was very insulated from the rest of the film school.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't really want to, because I was very interested in directing and producing and
Yeah.
the production side. Even though I think most of my experience was in the writing side. But I mean, I had a fair amount of writing experience prior to film school, so I really wanted to get the film experience going to film school. So I started off as a production major, and then as I mentioned earlier, we'd hit some financial hard times prior to going to college.
Sure,
It
sure.
still continued as I went to college, and being a production major was particularly expensive.
Yeah.
So I switched to art critical studies, which was sort of a marriage between the two. It was a little bit of film theory, but it was also a good amount of production experience. But it was just way more affordable. And at the same time, I started producing that TV series, which helped
Yeah.
time-wise.
Yeah, that's great.
So
That's
yeah.
awesome, man. Well, congratulations on what does.
It
seems like a burgeoning career. Like seems like you're busy and working, and that's fantastic.
well, yeah, constantly busy.
Constantly busy, yeah.
But it's this world is very up and down, and it's very hit or miss. It's been a good decade or so.
Yeah.
You know.
So back to the collecting. What point after college did you like start this that we're surrounded in? You know, which it's podcast listeners. It's amazing. Like when did this become a thing? Like what? Because this is also time consuming. You know, I mean, just
Yeah.
as
It's true.
literally as a project goes. You know, like it's one thing to seek out. It's one thing to have the resources, whatever, to go to shows and buy stuff or whatever. But this is all meticulously displayed. There are handcrafted shelving units, you know, all over that
Giant 8 foot tall.
yeah.
Behemoths of-
Right. They wrap the apartment that we're in.
Yeah.
And but everything's 100% clean, neat. Like it's a museum piece set pretty much. So where does that start?
That started. Well, I kept my collection as a kid, so I never let that go. I know a lot of people went to eBay and sold theirs off at some point, and
Sorry.
Yeah.
I did. Just the machines though. Just
Oh,
I
just the
still have all my
vehicles?
figures, yeah, because it was just too much space for me.
Yeah.
because I'm
No,
a
very
comic
true.
book guy, so my comics were doing this to
Right.
my life, and I was like, I can't. There's this giant box of all these vehicles in really great shape. I'm like, let me get some good money for them, and
Yeah.
but I still have my box of figures.
Well, actually, so as a comic book guy, so I would go San Diego Comic-Con every year. That was sort of like my one big treat for myself, like throughout college and my 20s, when I didn't necessarily have a lot of money to get back into collecting, but just save up, and if I had $100 in my pocket, I'd still go down. And at that point, you could go
Yeah.
with $100 in your pocket. It's just late
those-
90s,
right,
early
right,
2000s.
Yeah, can't do that anymore.
Yeah, no, you can't do it. You can't even get
No.
yeah.
The Uber is $100
at least. So it's definitely gone up quite a bit. But at that time, I'd go, and I was mostly just picking up comics. But every now and then, I might get myself a random toy. But I really wasn't back into I had a collection from my childhood and would occasionally add to it.
Mm-hmm.
But it was really about 2007 at San Diego Comic-Con where I got back into it big time. And part of that was the 25th anniversary line started. 2007. That was my gateway.
They're so good looking. Yeah, they're so good looking.
And the other factor was that actually in 2006, 2007, I sold a couple scripts that sort of helped elevate my career and got me a little spending money.
Fantastic.
So that was, because my early 20s and my college year, I had that TV show in my early 20s. Financially, it sort of wasn't necessarily helping me out. There were some ups and downs to that project that
I've heard that
was costly
stuff.
Yeah. So 2007. That's when I got back.
That's fantastic. Any scripts that sold that have been produced that we would know?
I've worked on a lot of stuff from a consulting standpoint or doing rewrites that you'd see, and some of those I don't necessarily want to mention.
Oh,
can't
sure.
mention.
Of course.
But I've worked on a bunch of stuff that you've seen, and I've done work on TV on shows like Community and Scrubs. And
oh,
things of that
fantastic.
nature. Both on
Great
the
shows.
production side and on the consulting side. But no, I sold a couple things to Fox that is still in development, and we have a film that we actually produced down in South America that is still in development. So
cool.
We will see.
Well, that's the game. At least the checks cash, right?
The checks continue to cash.
Really, all that.
Which is
at
good.
the end of the day, that's what keeps the That's what keeps the lights.
That's
on
what keeps
here.
the toys
in
coming.
The awesome cave. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I'm really excited, Jeremiah, to get your thoughts as we watch Cobrathon. Do you remember this episode?
I do remember it.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
And initial memories, good, bad, ugly?
It was. I think it was one of season 2. That was one of my preferred episodes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I really like that one.
I agree completely. It's got a lot of great newer Joes.
Yeah.
But with Duke leading the charge, so it's like this old guard shuffling in the new guys, like teaching them the ropes.
That's actually part. I'm a big Duke fan.
Great. Yeah.
I'm a big Duke fan. Duke and Snake Eyes were like my 1 and 2.
Yeah.
On the Joe side, and then like Zartan and Cobra Commander were.
Nice.
So like if you sort of featured like Duke or Snake Eyes or Zartan, I usually Cobra Commander's in almost all of them.
There was never enough Snake Eyes for me on the show, just because it's hard to do because he's mute. We've talked about this a lot on this podcast. I always wish that there was just one Snake Eyes episode where it was just Snake Eyes. I know he had the hero moments in the first couple miniseries, but like a Snake Eyes story.
Yeah.
Just something that
very much
dug
so.
into it.
Very
I
much
really wish we had gotten that, and we just never did. We did a little. We have in the newer episodes, cartoons, a lot of the Arashikage stuff, and but man, I would have loved to have seen that on this.
It's I just don't think they knew what to do. He showed up in the miniseries, as you said, like those first 3 in
hero
particular.
moments, but it was always everyone else saying Snake Eyes is doing this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's still that mentality of it being for kids, even though I think it was fairly mature.
Right.
Awesome.
Well, listen, we're going to get going. Jeremiah Stafford, thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're out there, find me on the internet at Joe and Joe Pod. You can send me an email like Jeremiah did to joeandjoepod@gmail.com and ask to be on the show, and we will get it. I actually know Jeremiah from the comic book shop out here, Golden Apple.
Golden Apple.
But he reached out to me over the email, and I was like, oh, of course, let's do this thing. So I'm happy to do it. I love having fans on the show, and I love meeting new people and being introduced to the amazingness that is your Jeremiah Awesome Cave.
Excellent. Well, we're glad to have you.
Sweet. Well, here we go with Cobrathon.
Yo, Joe!
Okay. So, in the Awesome Cave that we're in, I haven't seen it. Do you have a USS Flag?
I do not. That's the one thing that I don't really have room for.
True.
Yeah.
That is absolutely true. There's no room for a flag.
A friend of mine has one, and this friend has been considering getting rid of it, but he doesn't want to never see it again.
Yeah.
So he keeps saying, "Hey, do you think you'll ever have room for it?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's the answer.
Yeah.
Even just adopt it.
I'd have to figure out where to put it.
Well, you said
I'd have to build on the room.
You may be moving or something soon?
I may be seeking an upgrade when that happens.
Yeah.
I actually do want to get the flag, and the Defiant is another big one I'm missing.
Defiant's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Defiant's pretty awesome. Does he?
He has the
friend
Defiant
also?
as well.
Oh.
Yeah.
Who is this mystery man, and is he single?
We'll take it to his place sometime.
Oh, well, here we go. Cobrathon, written by Marty Pasco and Rebecca Parr. Of course, it's a Marty Pasco show. Marty Pasco's super talent. We love Marty Pasco. We open on some kind of South American Cobra smuggling operation, which is pretty great.
It's always great. I always love the way how they have to have the logo on all of their goods.
We've said it before. Cobra's got the best branding.
Yes.
Better than Joe. Cobra's got so much better than Decepticons, better than Autobots. Cobra brands everything amazingly well. So we've got a team made up of, we got Sci-Fi, and there's
Lifeline,
and Mainframe, and Beachhead. And so we got all these new guys, and they're led by Duke. It's a great intro for the young viewer at home. You know, it's like and everyone's getting a little character moment too. They're breaking into this compound. They just made a programming and basic joke, which is always fun. I don't even think do they even use basic? That's not even.
I don't think
anymore.
that's a thing anymore. Yeah.
It's so great. They did set off the alarms though, but we got some great action. They're busting in on here.
Looks like Cobra's running an international mail order business.
And it's an international mail order business. Actually, it looks like the Raiders Lost Ark.
Going into the yes.
Yeah, the Raiders Lost Ark warehouse. We got a bunch of Vipers heading towards them.
I wonder where those boxes are going to go. Oh, there we go.
So Jeremiah, were you like an everyday Joe watcher kind of thing? I mean,
oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
When the series took off in '85, I was all over it.
Would you record the episodes and rewatch them over and over again, or?
Yeah, I kind of had a thing where I wanted them to show up on a certain episode on my tape.
Oh yeah.
So I'd wait for this episode. I'd be like, oh, that's a good one to start
you want
the
that
tape
one in
with.
order, right? Okay.
You know.
Yeah.
Because by the time we got the VHS, like they'd already had their first run.
Real
Yeah.
amateur stuff, though.
Yeah.
Come on, take it with you.
I didn't record a lot of TV. I really was a VCR guy for like just recording, or not recording things, just watching tapes. Yeah,
watching
yeah.
movies.
I really, it's funny. A couple years back, I went and I took all my mom's VHSs and to transfer anything family stuff, and it was all like we only ever recorded like the big things, like. We had the Statue of Liberty unveiling. Remember they gussied it up?
Yeah.
We had that. We had the very Super
These
Bowl
historical moments.
Very Super Bowl
that were
stuff.
maybe not that historical.
Yeah, which you're never going to watch again.
Right.
Like that's what we were recording. And then there was like one tape of soap operas that my mom had, but that was it. Like we weren't like a regular. It wasn't. We didn't use it for the intended purpose.
I did start. Once we got the VHS player. I did start recording quite a bit. So I tried to get all the Joe stuff, and then when they start doing, Marvel and Batman the Animated Series and stuff like that, I'd record those too.
I had one or two of the official VHSs. I had like satellite down, and I think I had Countdown for Zartan. So I've seen those like, more than anything.
It's funny, those tapes back in the 80s were like, what, $20 a tape for 2 episodes?
Yeah.
Whereas now you can buy the whole series.
So
for
don't
the
even
same price.
get me. I bought the Monkeys on VHS.
Oh,
and
my.
ended up spending $500 plus on the collection, and I charged it on a credit card. So then
Yeah.
But I love the Monkeys so much. When I saw Rhino
That was a
putting
fun
it
show.
out in the mid '90s,
Yeah.
I was like, of course I'm going to buy this. I just got a credit card. I mean,
Is that out on DVD?
oh yeah, totally.
Is it?
Yeah,
Okay.
but at the time I was like, I'd be irresponsible to not get every episode of the Monkeys on VHS.
Yeah. Well, how can you not?
Yeah, how can you not?
You have no choice.
Supports.
Yeah, so I know the pain of then having to turn around and sell those at
Right.
one point later on for like $80 to collectors.
Yeah, exactly.
But I don't regret it, because in 1996 I was sitting in my dorm room watching Monkeys over and over and over again, and no one else was.
I think the only bought tapes I really had were they had the Marvel collection library.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I
And it was
don't
like-
have that, but I'm jealous.
I still have a couple of those.
I remember the ones that there was like a box set that they put out at one point that I really, really wanted.
Yeah.
And I don't know why they haven't made those 60s shows more.
They made the Spider-Man one, but
did,
they haven't done
right,
any of the
but
other ones.
Right,
Yeah.
but the ones that were, I don't know what the style of animation, but basically the Jack Kirby drawings come
Yeah.
to life, where they just move the mouth or whatever.
Yeah.
That stuff is so great. I have bootleg DVDs of I think everything, but
Yeah.
I would love a nice deluxe package of that.
Well, it's unfortunate because like a lot of the Marvel stuff actually really hasn't been collected, including like the '90s Spider-Man and
Yeah, well, you can get that. You can get a lot of that. Actually, buy it digitally on iTunes.
oh, can you?
Yeah, we're just past the stage. where
I'm
they-
a collector. So
I'm a
I
collector
still,
too,
you know.
right? And I don't think they see the money in it to make digitals or to make discs of them.
Yeah.
So you can buy the Hulk cartoons on iTunes. You can buy
Oh,
buy
nice.
the Spider-Man ones, I believe. You can buy Amazing Friends.
Yep.
I don't know if they did like the '82 Spider-Man series, the one that
The one that was the same time as Amazing
yes,
Friends. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I don't think that. I don't
Also
know-
Sunbow.
also Sunbow. Yeah, you can get them digitally,
Yeah.
but you can't.
But you can't actually own
Yeah,
it.
yeah. And then and to my knowledge, like they have in like the '70s Fantastic Four.
Nope.
I don't
Can't-
think they've
can't
ever
get
collected that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, back to G.I. Joe.
Absolutely.
Here's where we're at. The Cobra has developed an awesome computer virus that basically makes your computer run so fast that it explodes. It in their words, like it loads up the memory, and your computer just basically runs and runs and runs and runs until it.
There's
till
nothing worse than backed up memory
right,
blowing up your
right,
computer.
till it
So
turns
it's-
into a giant fireball.
Yeah.
But in order to develop it, they need to raise $5 billion. And here's how they're going to do it: a Cobrathon, the titular Cobrathon. And we've got Slinky Baroness in a revealing outfit, quite revealing, although expertly covered up with the telephone cutting
Yes,
across
yes.
the screen.
Well, you have to catch that number.
Yes,
Otherwise, how can they,
right.
you know?
Yeah,
it's,
yeah.
it's
I mean, that's
marketing.
where everyone's looking anyway.
Right.
So they're putting on basically a Jerry Lewis telethon,
trying to get a fix, sir.
and it's also on a like bootleg cable too. So this is all very 80s.
Yes, but eliminate them.
It's the idea of computer viruses destroying everything. They talk about modems a lot in this. Right?
Yes, absolutely.
Because they're going to connect. Basically, Cobra's going to connect via modem, quote via modem, to the was it U.S. Treasury, and blow up the treasury.
But where are Duke and the others?
And they're running telethons to raise money, and it's being broadcast on like closed circuit cable or something, like dark cable, like the dark net.
Well, Cobra can always just access anyone's TV at any time.
They can, but this time they're not. They're purposely not broadcasting it. They're actually on a weird signal, which is what the Joes, Dial Tone, and Flint and those guys, they like get scrambled cable.
Right.
So you remember when you would like try to scramble and watch like Cinemax and like see like
very,
one
very
movie?
well, very
Yeah.
well. Yes.
That's what the Joes are doing right here. So we go to commercial.
G.I. Joe will return
With scrambled
after these
cable.
messages.
Today's Filecard Feature is on the G.I. Joe MBT Mauler driver, codenamed Heavy Metal. His file name is Sherman R. Guderian, and his primary military specialty is the armor, and his secondary military specialty is finance. He is from Brooklyn, New York, and he's a grade E4. There are sections of Brooklyn that are more inaccessible to outsiders than the mountains of Transylvania. In Heavy Metal's old neighborhood, a trip to Manhattan, just across the East River, was considered a major expedition, and aspiring to the middle class was daydreaming, pure and simple. Heavy Metal enlisted to go to finance school, his ultimate goal to become a CPA. But one day, in Fort Belvoir, he watched a column of tanks roll by, and he was never the same again. He put in for a transfer to armor that same day. He's a qualified expert in the M16, the M1911A1, the M250 cal machine gun, and the M60 machine gun. Quote, Heavy Metal likes order. When a page-long column of figures adds up correctly, that's order. When a long column of tanks line up to face the enemy, that's order on another scale. Many people find comfort in order and discipline. Mathematics reduces the complexity of the world to manageable sums. Heavy Metal likes tanks. They are immutable statements in iron. Heavy Metal came with the Mauler tank. We talked about this earlier. It was the Tan-Man battle tank, and was sold in 1985, 86, 87. His figure has the look of kind of a tank commander from like World War II, where he's got the helmet on with the goggles, pistol across his chest. From what I can see, he's got a little bit of 5 o'clock shadow underneath a tremendous looking mustache.
I love the detail that they gave him about being from Brooklyn and just being a New York guy. I don't have much history with heavy metal. I never had the toy, never had the figure, but I respect his look. He's also strangely wearing what looks like cowboy boots, which is weird for a kid from Brooklyn. So I wonder if Wild Bill sunk his claws into him. Sherman Guderian, heavy metal, we salute you.
Now back to G.I. Joe.
That is completely what the shows are doing. They're trying to get the cable channel that they're not paying for in order to watch the Cobra telethon to try to figure out where their buddies are being held captive. Because they were being, who was it? It was Sci-Fi and Lifeline were being held on like roulette wheels, and they were going to be tortured and murdered.
We've all been there.
I mean, who hasn't? Like, it actually looked like a set from the Batman show.
It's-
Batman 66. This is fantastic.
I like how they're in their tuxedos and their
Oh, it's so
formal.
good. Listen, Destro's chest hasn't been that covered up since he was a baby.
Well, Mindbender as well. actually.
Mindbender also, yeah.
Still keeping the cape, though. I love it.
Yeah. The guys are... that
Is
guy...
that from the third miniseries?
Yes, that guy... That
Not Scar, but what was it?
he's-
Scar?
Yes, from the one where they had to dress up as women in
The
order
cross-dressing,
to escape. The cross-dressing,
Shipwreck
yeah.
and Snake
He was
Eyes.
in that scene. Yes, you're
Yes.
right. It's the same character model. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Standby. Go to standby.
This is great. Joes they kind of make their escape.
Please stand by. What happened?
Hawk is
Where's
befuddled.
Sci-Fi and Lifeline? Pinpoint
You
He's
really have to-
befuddled like a geriatric man. Like, what happened? What happened to the TV? And my show's not working. Where are my stories?
Of course. The Baroness said in keeping with our
Like
surroundings.
when my dad used to freak out, like because the computer rebooted.
Yeah.
What happened? What happened to my file?
Well, Hawk does seem... He was always a little bit older than
Completely.
the rest of them. I mean, he's a general. He has to be, right? You got the full leadership here, Val.
Except he was a part of the original squad though, so he is one of their contemporaries. You know what I mean?
That's true.
Like they just
Seemed
up, they
like
gave him
a
a
good
kick
idea
up.
at the
Yeah.
You know,
time.
so he's not 60.
That's very true.
What happened?
Now, when you first got into Joe, did you start with Hawk or Duke as your leader?
Duke.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was
Duke,
same boat.
Yeah, Duke. I had the mail away Duke,
Yeah.
and still do. And but when Hawk came out though, that figure was awesome.
That second version's
That-
great.
yeah, the
looking
second
figure.
version.
Yeah.
I never had an original green shirt Hawk, but that second figure Hawk, I was like, well, of course you're going to take charge because you got bomber jacket.
Right. Right.
You got a good, nice green hat that snaps on and off.
Yeah.
Looks awesome. Got a
Join
pistol.
us, the
Yeah,
main
you're awesome.
objective of this telethon.
Yeah, when it came to most of the 82 and 83 releases, I had to get the version 2 because I wasn't quite into Joe yet until
Yeah.
really 84. I had a couple of them. I started off with Grunt and Snake Eyes, actually.
Oh, nice.
Thinking Snake Eyes was a Cobra.
Yeah.
Because he was, I'm like, I'll start with 2.
Yeah.
Grunt seemed like the most G.I. Joe looking, and Snake Eyes,
Well, he was.
he's named Snake Eyes, and he's in all black.
Grunt's picture was probably used more than any other Joe's picture because
Until Duke, I'd say, yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Yes,
Yeah.
until Duke. Yeah. But he was that generic.
He was the
dude
generic
that
guy.
got placed on everything.
Yeah.
Blasted on everything. Snake Eyes. I got him as a gift at a Showbiz pizza party birthday party.
Oh,
that I had.
Showbiz pizza.
Yeah,
I
and we were at
remember that
Showbiz,
well.
and my friend, I opened it, and I was like, "What is?" I didn't even know. I had not heard of it. I was
Yeah.
like, "What is this?" And the kid, I forget who gave it to me, was like, "It's G.I. Joe. Aren't you watching the cartoon?" And I was like, "No. What are you talking about?" He was like, "Oh God, you gotta." And then, you
Yeah.
know, I loved it, and so immediately I'm like, "Mom, can we go next door to Venture or is there?" And like, are there more of this? And so then there was a whole end cap of G.I. Joe, and I'm like, "Oh my God, It's like, what is this?"
So this was year 1.
It would have been like, probably 83.
Yeah.
It would. Yeah, it was definitely first wave, and so I only had a couple of the first wavers at that point, but then like the second wave, like 84 or 85, was when I kicked in.
I was sort of the same way. Like I picked up Grunt and Snake Eyes, but honestly, I really wasn't digging it at that point because the green shirts, they all looked very the same.
yeah.
And it was very. I wasn't that much into the military aspect of it, but then as it got more colorful and as Cobra got more colorful, then with Sunbow in particular,
Yeah.
that's where it really kicked in. But once I started seeing characters like Destro and Zartan and Shipwreck and Flint and a lot more variety to those
I
figures.
think I got Destro I got him at my next year's birthday party because I remember I have this memory of getting Destro at the local swimming pool, and he would like rent the pool for a pool party. So
I'm pretty sure Destro was like the following year because I just remember having Destro at the pool, and I wouldn't have brought my Joes to the pool, and just being like, this dude with the metal face is amazing.
I ended up having to get him at a garage sale, so I actually got him a little late.
Nice.
Nothing. Relax.
So on the show, we've got the Joes. They figured out that this Cobrathon is most likely being held in Las Vegas. And this is
where else would it be?
Yeah, Vegas. Actually, they say Vegas or Reno, but this is the Las Vegas of, this isn't family friendly Las Vegas.
No,
this is Frank Sinatra.
This is old
mobsters,
school,
old school. Bugsy Siegel, Vegas. So the Dreadnoks are on their tail while they're kind of trying to figure it out. Duke enjoying a comfortable, maybe a cocoa, maybe a coffee. But I like that they have him doing that. He's not just standing around.
He's just being casual.
Yeah, he's just chilling. He's like, you know what? I'm going to chill. Meanwhile, Mainframe is basically put Breaker out of a job.
Yes.
So I'm watching this thinking.
And Sparks.
And Sparks, yeah. I'm watching this thinking like Breaker's somewhere going like, that used to be me. Like, what did I do?
Hey guys, just call me.
Yeah. Guys, I also have a communications thing on my back. I can also talk to people and figure stuff out. Doc, by the way, is happy that they finally have some scientists to help solve the scientific problems, and he can go back to being just a doctor. Because in the early episodes of the show, they'd be like, "There's a technological problem." Well, we're going to commercial real quick, and Doc is nowhere to be found.
After these messages.
Get me the plasma tops, and Cobra will rule the world!
Here comes the sinister Cobra Paralyzer with 3 awesome missiles that really fire.
Fire! I want the plasma top! Cobra!
Not so fast! Snakes drop! It's the G.I. Joe Badger with 3 powerful firing missiles.
Fire!
Cobra Paralyzer and G.I. Joe Badger sold separately. Anybody got a parachute? Now back to G.I. Joe.
My favorite being when Doc's the one who figures out how to refract the lasers back with the shields, the laser shields, and I'm like, you're the medical dude.
Well, that's very much the thing with all the comic booky type elements is if you're a scientist or a medical doctor, like you just know how to solve anything.
Yeah.
Guess. Cobrathon is going on inside this hotel.
Flint, that is the smartest thing you've said all day. We got Low Light, which is great. I just did a spotlight on Low Light a couple episodes ago. He's got such a cool costume.
He's got a really cool costume.
And then if you look closely, it's William Cat. He's got the blonde afro underneath a really, really cool costume.
Do you remember his version 2 figure? Were you still in it at that point of Low Light?
I've seen it. I don't have it.
He goes all dark hair.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which begs the question, was he dyeing it blonde or did he dye it black?
Well, in my fanfic world, he got caught on a mission with blonde hair. Like his blonde hair flared
Gave him
up.
away?
Yeah, and so they're like, you got 2 choices.
Yeah.
It's dye your hair or dye your hair.
Yes.
Flint is hanging what could be like a commercial break. He's hanging over the edge of a skyscraper, dangling, and that's usually like we go to commercial on
that's
this.
a pretty precarious moment.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, some Conquest X-30s are trying to zero in on where Cobra's holding this the computer virus, the computer virus base.
What were your favorite planes?
I love Sky Striker.
Yep. I have to say the same.
Yeah, Sky Striker is the best. Just because it was a real F-14.
Yeah.
Yeah. Conquest was cool because it fit in your hand, and you could do some cool stuff with both hands. Then,
but that Sky Striker is just so
Sky Striker's got it's
huge.
got everything. Yeah, man, it's got everything.
That
in it.
wingspan too.
The wingspan, the fact that they folded in and out, the leg struts up and down, the parachutes.
Yes.
All of it. Everything about the Sky Striker was great. I liked it better than the Rattler, although actually second best is Night Raven.
Yep, I'd probably lean the same.
Yeah,
for
Night
Cobra
Raven
side, I'd go Night Raven.
So dope. We get some great dogfighting here right now, which is pretty good. The Night Raven was great. Obviously, having the secondary chip on it was sweet. Stealth bomber, the various bombs, the payloads that would drop out. The fact that you got into it from the bottom.
Yes,
like it slid down.
It would actually drop down.
Yeah, that was really cool. Anything that like had a easy way
for your guy to access, like to get in, I always liked, when it wasn't just an open canopy and you just pop a dude in, but like you had to either crack the canopy or
you have to trigger something to make something
to get
happen.
someone inside. Right.
Yeah.
I always liked that.
It's that play feature.
Even like going as simple as the APC, where you just popped him in the seat, but in order to get to it, you had to pop the front dashboard off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that, and that was always fun because you could put two dudes in there and close the dashboard, and they would just chill. Zorana's making her appearance on.
Also dressed in her.
Yeah, the Cobras are all really dressed really well. Like she looks fantastic. Although, she had a crush on Mainframe.
That's right.
So I would love to have seen a little crossover because they do revisit it. I know they revisit it.
Yeah,
a
that
couple
comes back
times.
actually quite a few times.
Yeah.
The show was actually pretty good for particularly an 80s cartoon for having continuity.
Yes, 100%.
Part of that's the Marvel influence,
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Yeah, it's like that. It's like I would call it. They have character continuity, not necessarily plot continuity.
Sure.
Because like the extensive Enterprise building gets blown up so
Many
many
times. And the moon gets scarred at some
Yeah,
point.
yeah, it
in an episode,
does.
doesn't
It does. Yes.
So they didn't do the tick thing where they
yeah,
kept that. Yeah.
but the character continuity, there was always character growth. It was great. Of course, they roll snake eyes, and a giant couple snakes come out of some dice, and they're going to eat up Lifeline.
Flint to Duke.
Lifeline's just a
Proceeding
nice
inside
pacifist
the
trying to get
hotel
by in the
on
world.
foot.
And this is also cool too, where they still keep the new guys, and now they substitute Duke in with Flint, so it still get one of the old guard leading
We've
the
spotted
new
a
guys.
battle android trooper here, and I got a month's pay that says it isn't a tourist.
This actually, I came back from JoeCon a couple weeks ago, and the bats were Bat version 2 was one of the exclusives. that
Oh,
they had at
nice.
the
Yeah,
show.
so let's talk about that. So tell me about JoeCon. How was it?
It was good. It was actually my first time going. I mean, I go to a lot of conventions, but I usually don't have to travel for them because we live in Los Angeles, so
Right,
they come
right.
to us.
Yeah.
But JoeCon had been on my bucket list, and this was finally the year I decided to go. So it was a lot of fun. Yeah, they had a lot of. I usually end up still because I'm the collector, so I buy the stuff on eBay, like even if I don't go. But
Size-wise, would it be comparable to kind of like more like Long Beach? And I know for our listeners, we'll explain that in a second. Just for me to get a grasp on it, like Long Beach size or more Kamikaze size or
it's
smaller?
way smaller than
Way
Kamikaze.
smaller?
I'd say I actually haven't been to Long Beach, but
Okay.
I'd say from what I've seen of pictures, way smaller than Long Beach.
Multiple dealer rooms, just one big room.
One big dealer room, one panel room.
Oh, okay.
So there's
Okay.
only one set of
Okay. So
ongoing panels.
it's still modest, but
It's pretty modest. I've been to BotCon when it was out here.
Yeah.
And I go to PowerCon every year.
yeah, I think I'm going to that this year.
Oh, cool.
So, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I actually
We'll make that happen.
kind of loosely know the guy who runs it.
Oh, cool.
But he, yeah. No,
is
we
it
should- we should
bigger
hook
than
up.
PowerCon?
It's bigger than PowerCon, smaller than BotCon when BotCon
Okay.
was here.
Okay.
At least.
So it's a mid-size, and it's
a
2 days.
mid-size.
2 days.
It's sort of, well, it's 3 days, but then there's also activities on Thursday and Wednesday.
Okay. Well, that's a
So,
good size though.
you
I mean,
know.
that's a good length of time.
But the floor is open 3 days. Like, basically, you pick up the stuff that you pre-ordered.
Oh, Cobra just hit $5 billion.
This is not good for Joe's.
That means the virus is about to go. Oh, Duke just said the most repeated line in all of filmdom. Let's
So,
get out of here.
remind me, I may have missed it, but how does the money fund the virus? It's already been
Well,
developed, right?
yeah.
R&D's done.
That's right. That's a little foggy because
Okay.
they said they needed that money to develop it. But you're right. It's done.
It's ready to
It's
go.
done.
Maybe
And now
we should
what
give the
I'm
folks at
thinking
home a
is it might have
sign-off so
been.
they know that the show is over.
So let's
What you
extrapolate
got in
it.
mind, Dial Tone?
They probably
How about
needed that
this?
money to pay hackers to get it into
To do that,
to
do the
yeah,
dirty
I
work.
forget whether it's like the GI Joe or they were I think it was Department of Defense or something like that or the
G.I.
yeah, I
Joe
think it was
will
Department of
return
Defense.
after these messages.
They probably needed that money to pay the hackers to do that. That's without saying it. I'm
Yeah.
assuming that's what it was because they had the virus. They developed the virus already.
Absolutely.
So that's probably what it was. Like, one of those, like, when I see the money in my Swiss bank account, then I'll pull the trigger kind of a thing, But in this case, Mainframe was able to, like, point it back at its own computer and it destroyed
It just destroyed
Yeah.
itself.
Not like the virus that
It is a
apparently our
snake
government.
literally eating its own.
Yeah. Our government apparently unleashed a virus a couple
Right.
years back that then got out into the wild.
Yes.
And so we needed a Cobrathon at that point to stop everything.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
So the show ran like 2 or 3 days, and how was it?
It was pretty good. I mean, as I said, it was, especially if you've been out here to West Coast shows, it was on the smaller side.
Yeah.
But a lot of good dealers, a lot of good people.
Good cosplay.
There was some good cosplay. They had a little contest. There's both the sort of classic 12-inch collectors too, and then but most people are honestly doing the 80s.
Yeah, it's
G.I.
awesome.
Joe
That's
versus
great.
Cobra.
That's great. What's the like? You had one cool, like the coolest thing you saw, something that you weren't expecting to see.
I don't know. I mean, I've been to I go to San Diego Comic Con.
Yeah.
So you sort of see a lot of the
agree.
stuff.
Yeah.
There was some really good prices on some things. So I picked up some things I didn't have. I picked up a couple of international figures that from the 80s that were only released in the UK or places like that. Tiger Force Outback was
fun.
one of my pickups. So
I love it.
Yeah.
Survival.
Yes. He's got this wild cat painted on his shirt.
Oh, does he really?
And his Tiger Force colors. Yes, that was a UK
that's
release in '89 probably or something.
So we've reached the end of the episode. We talked mostly about other stuff, which is great to me. I love this episode though. I think it's a lot of fun.
It as I said, it is for season 2. It's one of my favorites.
It's action packed. It's got great characterization. Cobra acting just silly enough to where to make it fun. It's
and they changed their clothes.
Yeah, they did.
Which is pretty unique.
Right? The
laundromat actually got to wash out some of the stains.
Destro had to bust a tux out. Mindbender busted something to cover his nipples.
Yes.
So, Jeremiah, we've been doing character choices on this show. So I'm going to ask you, if you were a Joe or a Cobra, what would your name be, and what would your specialty be?
Okay. Can I do one of each?
Sure.
All right. And maybe we can even have a storyline where
you could be like a double agent. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay. So
that means you get two figures, like one in his Cobra gear and one in his, Joe gear.
I guess I'll start with I've been thinking about this while we've been sitting here a little bit, and I don't know if I have a good name for the Joe, but I'll give you the specialty. Yeah. I have a couple of thoughts, maybe. Okay. But so the specialty would be basically the guy doing the war game strategies.
Okay.
So, working with the high command, coming up with really intricate war game strategies.
That's great.
I was thinking maybe like something named after like a chess move or something like that, like Major Gambit or something like there's King's Gambit or something.
Major Gambit, I like that. I don't know much about chess.
I don't either, actually. So it just seemed appropriate.
Major Gambit, though, is great.
Yeah.
I like that. And why are you on the fence whether you be Joe or Cobra?
No. So I have a different specialty.
So that's for
Cobra.
Joe.
That's for Joe.
Okay, so you're Major Gambit.
I'm Major Gambit.
I like that. I like that a lot.
So he's the strategician for war games.
Yes, done.
Yeah.
Done.
On the Cobra side, Cobra, you're dealing with a lot of shady characters in Cobra.
Yeah.
Right? But, they're trying to maintain an order within the system.
Sure.
You can't have all chaos going on. But I feel like every now and then someone's going to step over the line.
Mm-hmm.
So they need a homicide division to solve internal bar fights.
Yeah. Oh,
sure. Things like that.
Yeah.
So I would be the homicide detective.
Wow. So you're Cobra Police.
I'm Cobra Police.
So you're CSI. So you're Cobra. You're Cobra Crime and you're CCI, like you're Cobra
what would that
Crime.
Be? Yeah, Cobra Crime
Scene Investigations. You're Cobra Crime Investigation. You're CCI. So what would your name be?
So I was thinking maybe a Detective Adder, sort of a Death Adder.
Detective Adder. I like that. Yeah.
Keep it with the snake theme.
Detective Adder. Yeah. Yeah. Done. Done.
Yeah.
You don't. Yeah. You.
Okay.
You didn't know.
That works. That
Done.
works.
Detective Adder and Major Gambit.
Major Gambit.
And you know what? I'm going to throw this out there. Maybe you're twins. You were separated at birth.
Could be twins. Could be could be a number of things. Maybe.
Oh, I like it. Okay, we're gonna write this. I love it. Jeremiah, this is fantastic. Thank you so much for welcoming me into your awesome, wonderful, wonderful den of joy.
Glad you were able to make it down.
Yeah, this was great. So, Lynn listeners, thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed the show. And now you're Joe, and Joeing is half the battle.